Good night, everyone. Welcome back to Karen Vibes, reading for the mature audience. Guys, I'm having a bit of problem with my phone. I hope you can hear me well. Oh, I'm having gizzardo, Jamaican gizzardo. Nice. Well, I shouldn't be eating it because of the coconut, but I say, you know, a little won't hurt. Anyway, folks, welcome back. Welcome back to Karen Vibes. So we're still on our book, Flowers in the Attic, and it's written by Virginia Andrews, and it's narrated by moi, Karen Weir. So we're just going to get right into it. So we started reading chapter 9 yesterday, and we're still at chapter 9. And chapter 9 is not a long chapter. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we just picked up where we left off. For those who have been following, just go on my page, Karen Vibes. That's KarenVibes with an exclamation sign on YouTube, and you can just pick up from where I started and where I left off yesterday. Right, so let's get into it. Shaken and trembling myself, I watched the grandmother sneer become a large, cruel smile of victory. Mommy, mommy, mommy! My soul was screaming. Don't let her do this to you. No, Corinne, take off that blouse. Silently, reluctantly, her face as white as death, Mommy pivoted around, presenting her back just as a violent shudder shivered down her spine. Stiffly, her arms lifted. With great difficulty, each button of her white blouse was unfastened. Carefully, she eased down the blouse to expose her back. Under the blouse, she didn't wear a slip or a bra, and it was easy enough to see why. I heard Chris pull in his breath, and Carrie and Corey must have looked, for their whimpers reached my ears. Now I knew why Mummy, unusually so graceful, had walked stiffly into our room with eyes red from weeping. Her back was stripped with long, angry red welts from her neck on down to her waistband of her blue skirt. Some of the puffier welts were crusted over with dried blood. There was barely an inch of uncut, unmarred skin between the hideous whip marks. Unfeeling, uncaring, disregarding our sensitivities or those of our mother. New instructions issued from our grandmother goes as follows. Take a good long look, children. Know that those whip marks go all the way down to your mother's feet. 33 lashes, one for each year of her life, and 15 extra lashes for each year she lived in sin with your father. Can you believe this, guys? Oh my word. Your grandfather ordered this punishment, but I was the one who applied the whip. Your mother's crimes are against God and the moral principles society lives by. Hers was an unholy marriage, a sacrilege, a marriage that was an abomination in the eyes of the Lord. And as if that wasn't enough, they had to have children, 4 of them. Children spawned from the devil, evil from the moment of conception. My eyes bulged at the sight of those pitiful welts on the creamy, tender flesh that our father had handled with so much love and gentleness. I floundered in maelstrom of uncertainty, aching inside, not knowing who or what I was. If I had the right to be living on an earth the Lord reserved for those born with this blessing and permission. We had lost our father, our home, our friends, and our possessions. That night, I no longer believed that God was the perfect judge. So in a way, I lost God too. I wanted a whip in my hands to strike back at that old woman who had ruthlessly ripped so much from us. I stared at the ladder. I stared at the ladder and bloody welts on Mummy's back. And never had I felt such hate before or such anger. I hated not only for what she had done to our mother, but for the ugly words that gushed forth from that mean mouth. She looked at me then, that detestable old woman, as if sensing all that I felt. I glared back defiantly, hoping that she could see how I denied her blood relationship from that moment on. Not only her, but that old man downstairs as well. Never again would I pity him. Perhaps my eyes were only glass to reveal all the spinning wheels of revenge I harbored and vowed to let loose one day. Maybe she did see something vengeful on those white worms of brains, for she directed her next words solely at me, though solely at me, though she used the room, though she used, excuse me guys, though she used the noun children. So you see, children, this house can be hard and relentless in dealing with those who disobey and break our rules. We will dole out food, drink, and shelter, but never kindness, sympathy, or love. It's impossible to feel anything but revulsion for what is not wholesome. Keep to my rules and you won't feel the bite of my whip, nor will you be deprived of necessities. Dare to disobey me, and you will soon learn all I can do to you, and all I can keep from you. She stared in turn at each of us. Yes, she wanted to make us undone that night. When we were young, innocent, trusting, having known only the sweetest part of living, she wanted to wither our souls and shrivel us small and dry, perhaps never to feel pride again. But she didn't know us. Nobody was ever going to make me hate my father or my mother. Nobody was going to have the power of life and death over me, not while I was alive and could still fight back. I shot Chris a quick glance. He was staring at her too. His eyes swept up and down her height, considering what damage he could inflict if he attacked. But he was only 14. He would now have to grow into a man before he could overcome the likes of her. Still, his hands clenched into fists, which he forced to keep tight at his sides. The restraint pressed in his lips into a line. The restraint pressed his lips into a line as thin and hard as the lips of the grandmother. Only his eyes were cold, hard as blue ice. Of us all, he loved our mother best. He had her high on a pedestal of perfection, considering her the dearest, sweetest, most understanding woman alive. He'd already told me when he grew up he'd marry a woman who was like our mother. Yet he could only glare fiercely. He was too young to do anything. Oh my goodness. Our grandmother bestowed on us one last, long, contemptuous look. Then she shoved the door into Mummy's hand and left the room. Sorry, let me read this back, folks. Our grandmother bestowed on us one last, long, contemptuous look. Then she shoved the door key into Mummy's hand and left the room. One question loomed sky high above all others. Why? 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 Why had we been brought to this house? This was no safe harbor, no refuge, no sanctuary. Certainly, Mummy must have known it would be, and yet she'd led us here in the dead of night. Why? Why? Yes, folks, so that is the end of chapter 9. And when we come back, we're getting into our story, will be at chapter 10. So thank you for listening. And we'll be back on in short order. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll be back on in short order, because I want to get into this book and get the story rolling, because I have other interesting books to read to you folks. So as usual, remember to like, subscribe and share, and I'm still waiting to hear your comment or read your comment. Remember to subscribe to Karen Vibes. That's KRENVIBES with an exclamation sign, and that's on YouTube. Yes, I guess I'm a little sleepy. I've been on my feet all day and I'm exhausted. Exhausted. So I'm working on some projects and taking a lot out of me. I'm just tired these days. But I'm hanging in there, doing what I have to do. Anyway, folks, so we'll be back on in short order. You enjoy the rest of the night. And thanks again. Keep safe. Bye.